Welcome to Porch Talks, and I'm Jedidiah. This past week, I was spending some time sitting on my front porch, as I usually do. I'm in a different location today. I'm in the backyard as opposed to the front yard. I love both aspects. This gives me just a little bit more privacy, so we can sit and talk together, because some of the things that I want to talk about today are a little bit deep. And at least for me, there's something that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about. And last week, I was sitting on my front porch and I was praying, and I began to hear the word of the Lord bring up a verse that I had heard since I was a child. You know, especially when difficult things happened, or when there was problems, or if you ran into difficulties and you're trying to overcome those difficulties. And that was the scripture that says, all things work together to the good to them that love the Lord. Now, I don't know about you, but for most of my life, I've struggled with that particular verse, particularly as it pertains to what I would view as being bad things and what I would view as being good things. If it was something that worked out towards my favor, of course I thought it was good and was excited about the fact that had happened. But when it didn't work out for my favor or in my favor, then I would say it was bad or evil or wrong, especially if something was taken from me or that sort of thing. And so you see, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our heads that we like to judge almost immediately. But as Father began to reveal to me the living letters themselves, and I began to see a deeper perspective, I began to realize that the things that I was calling bad really were just like what he had said from that scripture. All things work together to the good. I have to go back to that place of all things. Now, I know some of you may be even checking out right now and saying, I've heard this verse 1,000 times, but hold on. You're going to hear it in a different way this time, because I'm not quite finished with this verse. There's more to it than this. Because as I was sitting on my front porch, I heard the word of the Lord say this: all things work together to the good to them that love the Lord, because perfect love casts out fear. Never connected those two scriptures before like I did that morning out on my front porch. And it began to strike the very core of my heart when I began to think about how those two verses actually fit together. It's amazing, because the first thing I had to look at was that part of all things. I had to address, what does it mean by all things? It literally means everything. Everything that happens, everything that we do, every choice that we make, all things work together to the good. Father is teaching us, he's training us. He's showing us how to be a son. Better yet, he's really allowing us to spend time with him. He wants us to spend time with him. It's just like spending time with a family member or with someone you really love. It's that place of spending time with them, so much so that some people even say that, well, you guys are starting to look alike. You're starting to act alike and look alike. Well, yeah, because it's the person you're hanging around with. How much more so with Father? As you hang around with Father more and more and more, then you begin to look like him. You begin to act like him. But isn't that the point? Isn't that the heart behind it all? And so sometimes when difficult things pop up, there's always an opportunity for us to be able to judge it. Is it something that was bad? Is it something that was good? And that sort of thing. And I stopped looking at things like that as being either bad or good, because I began to realize that there are times that I make a choice, and my decisions, if I choose to not follow the peace in my heart, then I've learned well enough now that if I don't follow the peace in my heart and I choose to go another direction, I'm going to run into some things. You see what I'm saying? Because there's the peace in my heart is the key that helps me to know what I should do and what I shouldn't do. That's the place where I know that I'm following along with the perfect will of the Father. Is that peace inside of my heart? And so, in that place of stopping to look at things like whether they're good or bad, it helped me, because I realized that, wait a minute, even in what I would used to call as a bad or a negative situation, Father always taught me. He always had a treasure that was hidden behind those difficulties, hidden behind that problem, hidden behind that thing that I needed to overcome. And when I was able to get a hold of that treasure of knowing him more, that treasure of being able to overcome, that treasure of the joy and the release of being one with Father. You get where I'm going with this? There's so much treasure. Treasure is not only just in the financial aspect of everything. It's also in that place of the depth of the revelation and the joy and the peace and the shalom and everything that we get from Father. So the whole part that really hit me was the second part, when the Lord added that other verse to that first verse. All things work together to the good to them that love the Lord, because perfect love casts out fear. And you see, I spent some time with just that. What does that mean, perfect love? The first way that I usually see perfect love was in the place of where his perfect love was given to me. Without a doubt, I know that he loves me with a perfect love. And if he loves me with a perfect love, should I not also love with a perfect love? I begin to think about how I address others, because if he's giving me all of his love, then his perfect love should be flowing through me. And then that as I connect with others, then I should love them with that same perfect love. But what does it really mean when we say perfect love? How do we attain that place of perfect love? You see, to me, it was really this. The Hebrew word there for the word perfect might surprise you a little bit, because it was the Hebrew word shalem. Mushalem specifically, as it says it in the scripture, but the root word is shalem. And you'll recognize that because it's very, very connected to shalom. And so if I was to express any one thing about the word perfect there, or shalem, it literally means like whole or put together. It also speaks about that place of peace and rest. Yes, it's connected with the Hebrew word shalom as well. And so as I began to think about that, the one definition that really came out the most to me about this Hebrew word shalem, mushalem, was the fact that it was bringing about and telling me about a place of peace and of rest. It's another level of rest than what we talk about with just peace itself. And that's the rest in knowing about his perfect love, and that as I give that perfect love. But you see, I don't know about you guys, but for me, as I began to really meditate on that, what really began to strike my heart was the fear that came in association with the difficulty of what I was going through. And I had always focused and knew that he was giving me his perfect love. And I would focus on trying to give his perfect love to others as it was flowing through me. But I don't know about you, but for me, I began to realize that there was the one place that I did not have perfect love was towards him. Yeah, I know that's kind of hard to say. How can I not have perfect love towards my Father? But if I stop and think about, this is how. If I stop and think about it, when I begin to think that God would do something to me that would be bad on purpose, that's not perfect love. That's not me returning my perfect. If I begin to fear, if I begin to step over into fear, then is that really truly perfect love? If perfect love casts out fear? You starting to get where I'm talking about now? That place of releasing the fact that I may be offended with Father because this difficult situation has popped up. But remember, his perfect love casts out fear. Remember, he loves you perfectly. And with all of your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, in every way that you can, return that perfect love back to him.